Oh, she's having a meltdown, folks. She's having a meltdown. We're meant to feel so sorry for Ms. Meghan, for Ms. Markle, because, of course, the disaster tourism six stunt, all of the revelations and Vanity Fair, nothing to do with her. Nothing to do with her. Of course not. It's all our fault. So this is the latest reporting, the latest exclusive from Radar Online that are doing some really, really good stuff, saying that Meghan Markle has now gone into hermit mode, describing her as wounded after she was slammed about that repulsive photo op. So let me take you through it. RadarOnline.com can reveal that she has told pals that she and her husband, Prince Harry, don't deserve the backlash for helping out at a Los Angeles soup kitchen. A source close to the couple said, yet in pursuing that goal, she's found herself at the receiving end of harsh treatment. Harry has reassured her of his pride in her actions and advised her to take a step back and not let it get to her. Still, it weighs on them. Rather than retreating from the situation, they opted to journey 2 hours into the heart of the fire zone to volunteer at the World Central Kitchen. There, they prepared meals for evacuees, engaged in conversations, and offered comfort to those affected. This response is exactly what you'd anticipate from someone who carries Princess Diana's legacy. Meghan has now gone into hermit mode over fears of more criticism for simply helping out. But Prince Harry hasn't, by the way. You'll see this week he's in Salinas with more photo opportunities, of course, with all of the firefighters. But I mean, seriously, Meghan, you are completely and utterly delusional. You don't drive 2 hours leaving your children to go to a zone where there are still active fires. Nothing you were doing was helpful. In fact, we've had it confirmed now that you cleared out everyone from that fire zone. So that's the first thing. But in fact, if we just take a look at the macro of this, what's so shocking is that Meghan believes yet again that she is the victim. She is the one at the receiving end of the harsh treatment, even though it's her staff who are in therapy, as Vanity Fair confirmed.
According to Radar Online, Meghan has withdrawn from the public eye after a disastrous PR week. Now that alone is telling. When you're a genuine humanitarian, you don't retreat the moment you face a little criticism. Instead, you double down on the work and let the results speak for themselves. But that's not how Meghan operates. She's obsessed with controlling the narrative. The moment she's not being showered with praise, she shuts down and blames the media for being unfair. And let's not forget, this is the same woman who once claimed that negativity was the reason she left the royal family. Yet here we are again seeing the same exact behavior playing out in California.
But perhaps the most egregious of all of this pushback from Meghan Markle is that she genuinely believes that she is carrying Princess Diana's legacy. And that is just so offensive to anyone who knows anything about Princess Diana, because this woman is no Princess Diana. But joining me to respond to Meghan's PR pushback, Prince Harry's biographer, Angela Levin. So, Angela, do you feel like poor old Meghan is the victim in all of this and she was just trying to do the right thing and yet again she was mistreated terribly, Angela?
You've asked me a lot about this and I absolutely say the same thing every time, no. But I can tell you that I was one of the first who realised that she was very two-faced. And this took place 4 days after they'd got engaged. So she'd come over to London and they were going on an engagement to Nottingham. I went along as well. And I thought for half an hour, she was absolutely wonderful. She talked to the people so easily. It was pouring with rain. It was freezing cold. And she sort of said, oh, how kind of you, how nice of you, all that. I thought, my goodness, Harry's a lucky man. And after that, they went inside where all the senior people were there. And it was a talk about AIDS, okay? So
Yes.
they were on a stand and they started walking up. And she, as she has done ever since, pushed Harry out the way because she wanted to go first. Now, they'd only just got engaged. She had no experience of being a royal. And she went up there and she shook hands with them and she tried to be charming. I had my mouth wide open because it was then, and still should be really, a rule that the royal goes first. You don't do that. And she did that. Harry looked a bit odd, and she kept trying to hold his hand, and he didn't want that. He kept putting it behind his back because he didn't think it was the right thing to do if someone's talking about AIDS and you haven't known them before. I mean, it was so gross. And I thought to myself, oh no, she's a disaster because she's so two-faced that she couldn't even be polite when she knew nothing. The first time she's ever done anything like that. And it had to be her out in front. And that was the beginning of her taking no notice of what you did when you were royal. And that's how it's began as soon as possible. And that's how it's continued. You know, it's all about her. And she has felt that she was going to be absolutely unbelievably wanted. You know, this woman from the world who none of us came anywhere near. I mean, the arrogance is beyond hope. But what she does, if she doesn't like something and if she's criticized, which she can't bear, I think she screams first and then she goes hiding. You know, she doesn't come out. And the next time she comes out, she always comes out with some new thing. But I don't think it will happen this time because it's huge. She's been hugely attacked here now, quite rightly so. I mean, could have been walking over dead bodies, you know, with the burning.
So let's talk about this so-called humanitarian mission. Meghan and Harry reportedly traveled 2 hours into a fire-ravaged disaster zone to help. But here's the problem. We now know that their presence actually disrupted royal relief efforts. Workers had to be cleared out so the Sussexes could pose for the cameras, and honestly, that's disgusting. This is performative activism at its worst. You don't need to drive into a dangerous zone just for a photo op. If they genuinely wanted to help, they could have quietly donated money, sent resources, or used their platform to direct support to relief organizations. But no, Meghan and Harry had to make it about themselves. They wanted the moment to be about their compassion, rather than actually focusing on the victims. Real activism isn't about visibility, it's about effectiveness. And yet again, Meghan has proven that she is more interested in optics than outcomes.
But nothing helped her because she had to do that. She was the one. It didn't matter about anything. And she stopped people working because she was there. I think they thought, well, perhaps we have to do this because she is a bit royal. She's not a bit royal. She's Meghan Markle. And she just has to behave in a way that is understood. But she's also got nowhere. This is the thing. She actually starts things thinking they're absolutely wonderful, not listening to any advice, but in the end, they don't work out. And that's because she doesn't listen, because she hasn't got the experience. And this is what's happened. So she won't accept it. She'll keep on trying. And Harry is so feeble if he just keeps telling her that she's so wonderful and she shouldn't worry about it. Actually, a really good husband would say, look, let's sit down and see what you're doing wrong and try to get over it. And I will help you in every way. But, you know, she's too full of herself, isn't she?
Oh, big time. And Angela, what do you make of this comparison that she continually makes, suggesting that she alone now carries the legacy of Princess Diana? Now, of course, you reported a lot on Princess Diana. You know a lot about that era. Are there really all of these similarities? And do you believe that Meghan carries Princess Diana's legacy?
No, I think she's the very opposite. I mean, Diana had problems, but she had a deep heart and she loved people and she looked after them. And she's got nothing at all. She would hate Meghan, I'm absolutely sure. But what's interesting, if you remember going back to the engagement interview by the BBC, that she said that she felt, you know, she kept saying to Harry something like, you know, your mother's with us, I can feel it. and all that, Harry was going on saying, yes, I know my mother's encouraging me to do this. She's still there for me, and she talks to me about all the engagements I'm going to do. And I think she would be jumping up and down if she knew you. You'd be absolutely best friends. And she was saying, yes, we would, yes, we would. And of course, she went to Diana's brother's place where she was being buried, and Meghan lay on the floor and whispered and tried to talk to Diana. Of course, she couldn't. And that was to please Harry. That was to show him that she was special. She put on Diana's perfume the first time they met, because obviously she looked that up. And obviously she thought this would say to him, my goodness, I'm even wearing her perfume. Nothing could be more perfect. But Harry actually took it for truth that it was like that. But of course not. She looked it up. She said she didn't do any investigation into him. Come on. She's meticulous about investigation. And that was nothing. So she's just done that because initially it was to keep him doing everything she wanted. And now, he obviously still loves her if he keeps saying, well, you don't worry about it, it's all fine. Actually, he would love her more if he did sit down and say, let's go through these things. But he won't because he's scared.
Here we go again. Meghan Markle playing the victim. According to reports, she feels wounded by the criticism and thinks that she and Harry don't deserve the backlash. This is what happens when someone is surrounded by yes men their entire life. Meghan isn't used to accountability. She isn't used to people calling her out when her actions don't match her words. And instead of stepping back and saying, maybe we handled this wrong, she's crying about how unfair it all is. Newsflash: accountability isn't bullying. If you put yourself in the public eye and stage events for publicity, people have a right to call out hypocrisy. If you truly believe in charity, then prove it, not through PR stunts but through consistent, genuine work.
He doesn't seem to love her, Angela, when you look at the body language. And what's so interesting is so many of these briefings may well be coming from Team Meghan. But what I found particularly tone deaf is Harry was just out again. Another photo opportunity, Angela, did you see, with the firefighters this time? So in fact, they never listen to criticism. Actually, do you know what people want from Harry and Meghan at the moment in Los Angeles, Angela? They want money. That is what they want. Harry, you've just won your £10 million minimum. That's what they want. They want money. They do not want you constantly disturbing first responders and constantly using the LA wildfires, which, by the way, are still raging, Angela, and are still out of control in lots of areas. This is not a situation which is over. It is still an absolutely critical situation. And that's what they want. But these guys are so tone deaf. And of course, we learned it all, didn't we, from the Vanity Fair article? The staff members become so bullied that they are too afraid to actually deliver any sort of home truths.
Yes, but when I say he loves her, it's not like a normal thing, because he goes off now and he looks very sullen when we see them together. But it's a thing that he can't tear himself away. I think you all know some people where you realize that it's a totally wrong relationship, but you can't get over it. There's something there that actually draws you. In the end, you do, but people then take ages. I know loads of women like that, and men. It takes ages for them to recover from it, because they do still miss them, but they know that it's wrong. And I think that's what he's in, this terrible mess, and he doesn't know where he is. I think he went back because she was probably screaming at him and he didn't know what else to do. But he didn't listen, and he should have listened. And that's, appalling, really. It's absolutely appalling, because he would know that the royal family don't go somewhere that they're then a nuisance and people then deal with them rather than actually the absolutely important things that they need to handle.
This is one of the most infuriating aspects of Meghan's brand: the constant, shameless attempts to compare herself to Princess Diana. But here's the truth: Diana's legacy was built on authenticity. She didn't stage her humanitarian work for the cameras. She genuinely connected with people, and that's why she was beloved. Meghan, on the other hand, treats charity like a branding opportunity. She wants the aesthetic of being a philanthropist without actually doing the hard work. And that's why the public sees right through her. No matter how many times she or her media allies try to push the new Diana narrative, it won't stick. Because people can tell when someone's heart isn't in it.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, that is a very good point, Angela. But, I mean, yeah, I just think the fact that perpetually they continue to try and present themselves as victims is totally tone deaf to the narrative change in America. Even the wokerati, even the Hollywood folk, they're done. They are done. Like, people have come around. There's been such a big change going on, Angela.
I think there's a huge change, and I think maybe that's why she's hiding away, because she doesn't know what on earth to do. I mean, she's not going to do that cookery thing, and I think that, you know, she was the next thing she was going to do is about the jewels and the royal jewels, and I think people will hit the roof if she starts doing that. So that's not going to be a good idea, I'm sure. And they're lost. They're completely and utterly lost. And if they're going to be thrown out of America, then that's going to be even worse, isn't it?
Indeed.
But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, well, I mean, someone who's not at all lost this week, Angela, is Prince William, who had another very confident appearance. I mean, he really just has come into his own, and he's playing football, and he's very beloved, and he's looking very good and quite trendy. But you've got news, Angela, as to his new movements, which are quite a bit of a political one for him.
Yes, well, he's going to lead the nation in commemorating the Holocaust Memorial Day. The King is going to Auschwitz, and he's delivering a service in London's Guildhall. So it'll be attended by survivors and guests from around the world. And both he and Catherine are very keen to do this. Catherine was there last year, and I don't think she might come, but I don't think she will. And it's marvelous that he would do that and say how terrible it's all been, and talk about anti-Semitism in a way that is comforting. And Queen Camilla's done the same thing. Yesterday at lunchtime, she talked to 700 people about the Anne Frank Trust. She's the first royal patron of that. And Anne Frank, for anybody who doesn't know, she wrote a book about her life. She was 13 and she hid away, and she was away for a very long time in a room. And then the Germans found her and took her off and killed her. But it's an amazing dictionary, an amazing story of her life. And so Camilla's doing that. And what she said was that we must never forget the lessons of the Holocaust. And we need to have a renewed commitment because of the atrocities. And there she was saying that. And I find it's incredibly warm and comforting, because it is, I think it is very hard if you're Jewish to cope with all the nastiness when people don't know you and have no record of how you behave or what you do. And I think that for the royals to take this in their hands and comfort Jewish people, I think is very helpful and kind.
This is where things get interesting. While Meghan has gone into hermit mode, Harry is still out there doing solo appearances, most recently at a firefighter event in Salinas. This raises a lot of questions. Are we witnessing the beginning of a strategic separation? We've seen this before. When PR disasters hit, Meghan tends to disappear while Harry tries to clean up the mess. It's almost like he's the one sent out to do damage control while she stays behind closed doors until the headlines cool down. For years they've been this inseparable PR unit. But now, Meghan is nowhere to be seen and Harry is doing the heavy lifting alone. Could this be a sign of deeper cracks in their partnership? If so, it wouldn't be surprising because let's be honest, Harry needs Meghan more than Meghan needs Harry. So what does all of this mean? I think we're seeing the beginning of the end of Meghan's media protection. For years, the press has given her a free pass, treating her as this wronged woman escaping royal oppression. But the tide is turning. People are waking up to the pattern. The staged charity events, the victim complex, the inability to handle criticism. And what's happening now? She's hiding away while Harry tries to pick up the pieces.